All right, so what the heck? I got a lot of stuff to cover. Let's just dive right in. So real quick, who am I? My name is Shane Young. I was with good old SharePoint 911, but since we were acquired by our friends at Rackspace back in February, we are now Rackers. So really what happened was SharePoint 911 just became the services arm of the SharePoint team at Rackspace. So cool stuff. I'm a SharePoint server MVP. You can see there's my email address, a link to my blog, which, contrary to popular belief, does not contain anything about cooking recipes. It is not updated as frequently as it should be, but it's good stuff nonetheless when it does get updated. And then finally there at the bottom you can see my Twitter handle. So that's me. If you need anything, you know where to find me now, so feel free to email me and say, hey, what's up? And I can save most of you some time, right? The first question will be will these sessions be recorded? They are being recorded. Your second question to that would be, how do I get access to the recording? That part I haven't figured out yet. We've got them recorded though and captured. We're capturing all of the sessions everyone's doing this week. And as fast as I can figure out how to get the wheels moving and get those uploaded to the web somewhere where we can share them out, we will definitely do that. So the recording will be available. Also, I will make this PowerPoint deck available in some capacity. That will probably just happen on my blog though. So. All right. So jumping straight into upgrade. You're going to see, once again, I've got a lot of different things. I've already taught upgrade a few times for some different Microsoft training stuff. So, and I think last time I did it, I had like 3 hours. So now we're trying to do it in, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. So if things sometimes feel a little random, that's why. But things that you should know jumping right in here. First off, no SharePoint 2010 installed on the server. So when you're thinking, you're looking at building out your environments and stuff, you can't have the two overlap. So what does that really tell us that we'll talk about in just a second? We have no in-place upgrade option this time. So you're going to have to start over on a new box. Database attached upgrades will be the only one. So have that. Your SharePoint 2010 databases must be RTM or later. That's really exciting. Why? Because in the past for 2007 we had to get the Service Pack 2, and for some people that was a traumatic event. So this time around, as long as your 2010's at RTM, hey, we can just jump right in and take advantage of that. No Service Packs. Also, as we're playing with all this, keep in mind that that's the idea, right? This is 2013 beta or customer preview or whatever fancified name you give it. There is going to be no upgrade path to go from one of these beta environments to 2013 RTM when it comes out. So don't be investing anything here saying, oh yeah, we're going to be able to take that and upgrade it later, because you're not going to. So once again, this is just for playing, for learning, that type of stuff. If you're doing anything with Office web apps, in SharePoint 2010 we installed those as part of our SharePoint 2010 farm on the server, on a SharePoint server itself, or more than one potentially. In 2013, Office web apps will be their own tool, so they will have to be installed on their own server, which does not have SharePoint on it. So when you start looking at that, the reason I bring that up in the context of upgrade is some people have gotten used to being able to preview all their or edit their Word documents and things in the browser. And so to get that working again in 2013, you are going to have to stand up a separate OS server. Adding managed paths manually before attaching databases. Once again, this is out of order. This should come later. But this was just my list of things, like I said, that were randomly needed to be covered. So managed paths, if you attach a database that's using a managed path, SharePoint will attempt to figure out the managed paths for you and will create them for the web app. The problem, though, is it doesn't really understand wildcard versus non-wildcard managed paths. So it creates everything as explicit managed paths, which is probably not what you meant. So go ahead and set up all your managed paths ahead of time. Always upgrade the database with the root site collection first. That has been our advice since upgrading from 2003 to 2007, and that is going to keep moving forward. And finally, try to use the same URLs. So SharePoint has SharePoint 2013 has a link backup job or a link fix-up job that it tries to fix, navigation and things like that if you attach with one web app or attach the database to a web app with a different URL. But it's it's a lot of extra overhead processing, and it's probably not going to get it all worked out. So when you're playing with these, if your production today is portal.company.com, go ahead and create the web app on your VM as portal.company.com, and then just use a host file to point to that. So that way you keep the same URLs. You're not always having to worry about jump around and mismatch things and trying to troubleshoot whether it's a bug with upgrade or it's a bug with you having poorly typed URLs and stuff. So that's a handy piece of advice. Also, if you have a bunch of alternate access mappings that you want to work, and you use those in 2010, go ahead and set those up on the 2013 web app before you attach. So get the web app fully, configured for the different bindings and alternate access mappings and stuff. Once again, it keeps the fix-up job from having to do so much work that you're going to change and undo anyway. The last one, right? I think Todd covered it yesterday on his install module, and if not, I'm going to cover it for you right now. You need more hardware. The hardware specs go up in SharePoint 2013. We've already seen, like Office web apps need to be on their own box. There's things with like workflow servers. I would really encourage you now, when you start thinking about upgrade, to start thinking about, how many boxes do you need going forward? Not a conversation we're going to get into today, but there's a lot of stuff on TechNet that has some of those minimum specs already. I would want you to start thinking about that, because it could be a big bullet to bite. Logistically, also, with the webinar, there is a questions section. You can throw your questions out there. Either Todd will quietly type in the question or the answer for you, and it'll just magically happen, or I will call them out and answer them directly. So, and for example, my buddy Mike already asked, what minimum version of SQL for SharePoint 2013 and recommended version? I would say SharePoint 2013, it definitely requires either SQL 2008 R2 SP1 or SQL 2012. Recommended version, from a SharePoint perspective, I don't really have a recommended version. SharePoint kind of does its thing as long as the SQL version is correct. Now, there are a lot of great new features and functionality in SQL 2012 that make it a better choice, but I don't think it changes too much about what SharePoint's going to do. All right. So, valid methods, database attach. That's it, right? That's we used to have, gradual upgrades and in-place upgrades and database attach upgrades, back in 2007 days. For 2010, we lost gradual upgrade. For 2013, we lose in-place upgrade. So now we're really only going to have a database attach upgrade method. Which brings up a great point. Darren just asked, hey, what about if I have 2007? Can I go straight to SharePoint 2013? Out of the box, you cannot. So what you're going to need to do, Darren, is you're going to need to get your 2007 up to Service Pack 2, and then do a database attach from there to a SharePoint 2010 environment. I would prefer that your SharePoint 2010 was, Service Pack 1 or some later build, just good housekeeping stuff, right? Maintenance and things. But once you get done with that, then you would take that same database and attach it to 2013. Now, if you really want to go from 2007, I'm betting that the third-party vendors will have options for you to do that. The usual suspects, that have had tools in the past to go from like 03 straight to 2010. I bet they'll have tools that go from 2007 to 2013. But none of them have really announced that yet, or if they have, I haven't seen it. So, another question here from M, or M&M, whichever it may be. Are there any big gotchas for upgrading custom-built solutions from 2010 to 2013? You're stealing my thunder. So I am not a developer. I do not play a developer on TV. I may mock developers from time to time. You know, I do it in the good-natured ribbing type because I love them. But for the most part, most 2010 features and solutions will just work in 2013, kind of the same way that most 2007 features and solutions worked in 2010. But you know, there are. I think the big gotchas, you know, if it's things like you wrote a feature or event receiver or something of that nature, you know, that type of stuff, yeah, probably just works. If you tried to write a custom solution that, you know, modified a bunch of application pages and is changing some underlying API type stuff or pointed that stuff, you're probably going to have to revisit some of that. So the big thing I can tell you there is that if we were doing the 3-hour version of this, I would show you a slide that essentially shows how the backwards compatibility works, and it's going to look in the 14 folder structure first, and then the 15 folder structure, and try and figure out what you have and kind of build on it. One of the resources I give you at the end has all that information, but there's some thinking to be done. But I wouldn't say I know of any big gotchas right now. All right. So supported databases to do a database attach. So obviously your content database is supported. I probably should have added that bullet point here. But we knew that one. But so most of your service app databases can also be upgraded. So BCS, Business Connectivity Services, Managed Metadata, Performance Point, your secure store database. If you do that one though, you're going to need to know your passphrase, right, to decrypt it once you try and attach it to 2013. Your user profile databases, same story. There's 3 in 2010, right? There is the social one. Oh goodness, the social one, the site one, and then the sync one. The sync one will not work, right? And really, when we think about it, I mean, there's really no reason to upgrade that one. Just because it's all the housekeeping stuff for doing your profile sync with them. So on TechNet it says that one's possible to be done, but we're fairly certain that it's not. I think that might just be a typo out on TechNet. And sorry, I said profile and site. I meant the profile, the social, and the sync. Thankfully Todd's in my ear telling me the dumb things I said. So sorry about that. All right, and then of course your search databases. So what you really are going to do is you would update the search administration database. So you're not going to take the index databases, the crawl databases, the property DBs, none of that. You're just going to get the search administration that will bring over some of your settings and configuration, upgrading search. This is, I think, one of the places that I'm least comfortable talking about upgrade right now, and the reason for that is because we haven't done it for real yet, so it's hard to say. But from an authentication standpoint, in SharePoint 2010, I preached that unless you had a reason otherwise, that you should be using classic mode authentication, you know, good old-fashioned NTLM, right? It always worked. It did its thing. It took very little effort to set up. And it had been the norm since back in SharePoint 2003, so there was really no reason to switch to claims in 2010. It didn't get you anything in a pure, you know, Windows auth type of environment. Now, if you're doing forms-based authentication or something like that, then of course you had to do claims in 2010. With SharePoint 2013, Microsoft's kind of flipped the switch on us. Now they're like, hey, claims is the dominant thing, right? Claims is going to be the type of authentication that we use. And yes, there's, you know, hacky ways to go back in with PowerShell and create classic mode web apps, but let's not do that. All right, I hear that. So then that really begs the hard question of, if I have classic mode in 2010 and I'm going to claims in 2013 like a good little boy or girl, what do I do? I can go either way. I've heard it said both ways. You know, the official Microsoft documentation is you should make that switch over on the 2010 side, right? There's, and I'll give you a link to it later, but there's already a claims migration white paper for, you know, migrating a classic mode 2010 to a claims mode claims mode in 2010. So moving 2010 from classic to claims. that paper's already been written, vetted, proven, it works. So the advice they're giving right now is you should do all that on the 2010 side, and then you know, have a claims database to upgrade to 2013. On the other way of flipping it is you could say, hey, I'm going to take my you know, web app, bring my database over in Classic, get it to 2013, and then there's some new PowerShell commandlet stuff available. There's some new PowerShell commands that are available that should make moving from Classic to Claims easier and smoother in 2013, in theory. This is something that you need to solve for before you start trying to do production. Right now, you're going to see my demo worlds, you know, and we are going to get to quite a bit of demo once I quit blabbing so much. You are going to see over there that we have the ability to kind of attach a Classic to a Claims web app. You'll get an error message. It's like, hey, I don't know what to do. And it still attaches. It still works. You just would have to go back and kind of fix all the security stuff. For me, just creating VMs and testing web apps and stuff like that, no problem. So a couple questions here. Does Claims need Kerberos? The answer is no. Claims authentication, you know, if you just want to use Claims with good old-fashioned NTLM, you just click a couple boxes and it just works. Nothing hard, nothing for you to set up, nothing for you to change on the domain controller. It just works, just the same way Classic did back in the day when you're doing straight, you know, Windows-based NTLM claims. Another question there, well, will Classic upgrade from 2010 to 2013? Will Classic content database upgrade from 2010 to 2013 cleanly? To the best of my knowledge, yep, it all works fine. You need to get the claims though. And like I said, if you attach a Classic, because you're going to attach a Classic database to a Claims web app in 2013, and it essentially you've lost all security, right? It doesn't know how to authenticate those people anymore, so you need to fix security is really the problem. But from checking out your content, you know, just playing with it because that's what you want to do on a Friday night, you know, you have no life like I do, then yeah, that will all work its way through. All right. You know what, we'll do this slide and then we'll jump over and we'll demo some stuff. I don't want to get lost in slides. So no more pre-upgrade check. As you can see, boo, I'm not thrilled with that. Back in 2007, we could do STS-ADM-0 pre-upgrade check. It would run a great little report, spit out some files, and really kind of give you a health check of your farm with the eyeballs on, you know, how well will it upgrade or not. So that is gone. Instead, what you're going to see in 2010 and in 2013, we have test SP content database. And so that command works exactly the same in 2010 as it did in it works the same in 2010 as it does in 2013. And the idea is you specify a database name and then SharePoint interrogates and says, hey, Mr. Database, what is everything that you need to render properly? And then the web app, it says, okay, I got a list, and then it says, hey, Mr. Web App, do you have all these things the database is looking for? And then you can see what is there or what's not. So that command works in 2010 and in 2013. All right, let's demo some of this. All right, that's what we really want to do. We want to see some stuff. Okay, so you guys should see Central Admin at this point. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over here, SQL Management Studio. Connect in there. And in here you will also see backups. So I have a SQL backup from a different VM called Claims for Todd. Why? Because Todd was around when I was trying to prove that I was losing my mind, so I named it after him. Trying to make the boy famous. Okay, so here I am in just good old-fashioned SQL Management Studio, right? So I'm going to go to Databases, Restore Database, from Device, click the ellipses, File, Add, and if we scroll up here to Backups, Claims for Todd. Click OK, click OK. Check the database. Now, if we look, we can see that that database was originally named WSS_content claims. I could use that name, or I could just call it, I don't know, let's name it Upgrade Me. Right? You can name the database as anything you want, so you don't have to worry about any type of confusion or conflicts. You can, be very descriptive with those names. So we're going to hit OK, and that is successful, very quick. So there's the database. Now, for me in this demo world, I'm doing everything as administrator because I don't want to say I'm lazy, but because with beta software, I like to give myself the highest chance for success. What you need to do though is if you were doing this in a proper way, so say for example I'm on the SQL server, I did the restore, these database permissions would be all wrong. So what I would want to do is I want to make sure whatever account that I'm going to do the upgrade as has DBO on this database so that it can do it. So whatever account that I'm going to go over to the SharePoint server and launch the SharePoint 2010 management shell as, that account needs to be DBO on the database. That's already taken care of in this environment, but it's worth noting for the future. All right, so I'm going to run PowerShell as administrator. And as normal with the beta, we get some weirdo error messages. First thing I type is CLS. Yay! It's all nice and clean. So something that we've preached for a long time is what you really want to do here is step one is you want to type in start-transcript, right? It's a built-in PowerShell commandlet, and it's going to take everything that I type and do in this session and write it to this file. The idea being is that now, if I want to go back and look, for example, maybe when we do this test SB content database, it scrolls through the buffer, right? And I need to be able to pan back through it. I can go hit that file. Or if I spend all day troubleshooting some problems and I can't remember what PowerShell thing I was poking or what member I was getting properties of and taking methods of, whatever all that means, I have this log file of everything I ever did. So big fan of start-transcript. All right. So then we're going to do test SP content database -name, and then we're going to do upgrade me, which is the database we just recovered, and then -web application HTTP upgrade to.fabricam.com. Now before we hit enter, I'm going to jump back over to Central Admin because what I meant to show you, if we go over here to manage web apps, what I did ahead of time, so you didn't have to wait 3 minutes for it to get created, is I created a web app called upgrade2.fabricam.com. And if we go in here and say view all site collections, change web app, we'll see that for that one I have a root site collection. It's in the WSS_content upgrade delete web app or database. So the thing there is that I have been burned way too many times during this beta testing of this version, the previous version, all of them, where the web app was donkified before I even got to try and do an upgrade. So I didn't get to, I was troubleshooting upgrade issues when in reality it was a bad web app. Happened to me literally last night. So instead I created the web app and I just created this brand new site collection. Like, all right, it works. So it tells me that DNS is set up properly. It tells me that authentication is working. Everything is good. So this should be step one. It's easy to skip this part, but I lost an hour and a half last night because I didn't do this step, and it turned out that my web app was corrupt, not the databases I was upgrading. So now that I see that that works, I'll go to Manage Content Databases. I will remove this database. Oh no, it's taking it away. Well, that's what remove should mean. I'll click OK. All right, so I have no databases. If we do a refresh here, there's no content here. And if I'm a good little citizen, I would even go over here and get rid of my database from SQL Server. Now, sure, if I do that, I'll delete the wrong database, so I'm not going to do it for the demo, but get rid of your databases. Clean up for those DBAs. Okay, so we're good. We're all set with our web app. So now we're going to go over here and run test SP content database. It's interrogating. Whoa, that's an awful lot that scrolled by. If we scroll to the top, luckily we didn't overrun the buffer, but if we had have overran the buffer, right, we could have went to documents, and then there's the transcript file that we're currently updating, and we could have read through that transcript file and seen all the commands at once, right? Because there's the same exact stuff in Notepad. So looking at this, you can see that there's a lot of different features. the nice thing here is that one of their errors, their upgrade blocking is false. As long as they're all upgrade blocking equals false, I just soldier right on, right? They're good to reference. What it turns out, though, is, I mean, this database is as vanilla as humanly possible. These are just things that are missing on all of them, right? These are more challenges with working with consumer preview, right? It's telling me all these missing files exist, but it shouldn't be because they're not supposed to be there, you know, that type of stuff. So we are going to pretty much move on through that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to change the word test to the word mount. Now, if any of you have ever seen me do an upgrade presentation before, right, this is so far exactly the same in 2013 as 2010. That's the nice part, right? Nothing's new here. There's nothing new for you to learn. We still get this awesome down to the 100% of what's going on. If you wanted to go over here to upgrade migration and you'd prefer to watch it from here, all right, here it is in progress. You can see my work last night when I was fiddling around with it all. You still will get, if we go to my computer, see program files, common files, Microsoft Shared, web server extensions, 15 now. And in logs, you'll still get an upgrade log file per upgrade and an upgrade-error file that has all the errors for this particular upgrade. So exactly the same as it was last time around. All right, look at that. Stalled just long enough to get to 100%. It should come back and it'll tell me, hey, now there's 2 site collections. Apparently there was 2 site collections in that database. I had no idea. What I'd probably do, because now I'm curious what the 2 site collections are, view all site collections. And, oh, so there is the root one, and then it had created me a Office Viewing Service cache one as well, which, you know, we're not worried about. That's on its own. All right, very cool. Now you will notice here that this is Contoso Administrator, and if I was to go over here and type in good old who am I am Fabricam Administrator. Another problem that has burnt me in the past more than once is it used to be all my VMs were Contoso, right? It's easier for me to make them all Contoso, so when I have to do stuff for Microsoft, you know, it's a valid domain for them. Life is grand. It's just a habit I have. What happens though is if you create a self-contained VM with a Contoso domain on 2010, and then you create a new self-contained VM on 2013 with its own Contoso domain, right? You've got 2 separate worlds, even though they're both called Contoso. So while they both would say that Contoso Administrator has access, the SID for Contoso Administrator would be different from one world to the other. And it just causes you to get all these weird access denied behaviors when you log in with those accounts that overlap. So what I've done is, because my one environment was Contoso, I've made this one Fabricam, so that way I don't ever have to worry about those domain collisions. Just one of those words for the wise if you're a tester. All right, real quick, let me jump over here and make sure I'm doing good on questions. I see a few popped in since I was rambling. So this is saying, hey, how did the web app pick so when you do the mount, how does it know what web app to attach it to? And so that was the mount, the database name is here, that's the name of the database, and then the web application was specified right here. So that's how it knew which one to attach it to. Someone else asked, can you attach content databases through central admin? I have not checked either, but in the past you have not been able to. And the reason for that is that when you attach it to the browser, it would have to invoke the upgrade, and if that timed out or took longer than the 2-minute web running process, the chances of that being successful are little to none. So Microsoft in the past has always just blocked that, and so you've always had to go in and do it through the PowerShell commands, so that way it's running through a process that isn't tied to your app pool stability or IIS timeouts and things like that. The next question, do we have the options for keeping the 2010 look and feel? That is a perfect question because that's where we're at now. So we've got it all upgraded. Let's go here in the browser. Upgrade2.fabricam.com. Womp, womp, womp. Access denied. Why? The reason why is the thing I was just pointing out, right? If we go and change Site Collection Administrator for that site collection, you can see that right now it's Contoso Administrator and it has no idea who that is. I don't blame it. I don't know who that is either. Stranger danger, right? So instead, we're going to go in, change that administrator, click OK, and say go back to site. Cross our fingers. I'm doing some awesome hand motions right now, cheering it on. And in just a second, it should render. Now, if you've got hundreds of site collections, right, and you don't want to have to do that one by one, well, first I would tell you could script it with a PowerShell. Be awesome. Script it with PowerShell. But if you don't want to do that, don't forget that you could also went over here to your web app and then went to user policy, add a user for all zones, and you could have added administrator here and given him full control. Right, and then that way, administrator now has full control of all the content in that entire web application. So that would be another way to give yourself access. All right. So that brings us to, hey, look at this. We now have a 2010 site collection, even though we're in 2013, right? So we've all seen this trick before as well. In 2010, we called this visual upgrade. That is not the case in 2013. This is not a visual thing. This is truly a 2010 site collection inside of a 2013 world, right? So Microsoft has made that as a change this time around. When we go back over here to our web app, application management, create a site collection, even if you've never done an upgrade to begin with, we can create a site collection. Look at this picker. We can do it in 2010 or 2013 mode. So that is not a visual thing. That is a true make me a 2010 site collection inside my 2013 farm in my 2013 content database. So we'll pick a team site, right? So sites, demo, make administrator here. So that's a pretty big departure. We won't get into all the nerdiness of how that all works, but essentially the database, its schema has been, it is a 2013 database, but SharePoint ships with all the pieces to have a 2010 site collection render fully and behave and be a 2010 site collection even though we're inside of 2013. It's really kind of neat. Right, so even though I just created this one fresh from scratch, right, site actions is still over here, site settings is all still here. So that's the new one I created or the one that we just upgraded, same difference. So it's not the whole visual upgrade. Now, up at the top, you'll see I have a system and notification. Experience all that SharePoint has to offer. Start now or remind me later. I'm seeing that because I'm a site collection administrator. If I hit remind me later, by default, that is going to remind me again in 30 days. Or it can be, it's a per web app policy, so you could change that default reminder time. If you set it to 0, not a web app policy, a web app property. If you set it to 0, then people can't remind me later. If we hit start now, we're going to see there's some different buttons here. And so one of them is try a demo upgrade. This is the one you want to explore first. So what try a demo upgrade will do is, so what this button is going to do for me is this is going to create me a new site collection and upgrade that to SharePoint 2013. So it's actually going to create a site collection with a different URL in the same web app that has been upgraded to 2013. The idea is that I can go look at that, play with it, check it out, make sure that I'm comfortable with it before I actually upgrade this site collection. So that's a very important distinction, is it is going to copy your data and then make that new site collection. You can't take that new site collection that creates, though, and say, oh, yeah, I customized it all, now just push this over top of the original one. That demo environment, and there's a big warning at the top that says, hey, don't do this, or don't do any work here. Because you're going to lose any work that you do there. So keep that in mind when you create these. All right, and so here's the part where all your ears can perk up. So when you do try a demo upgrade, and you say, hey, create an upgrade evaluation site collection, it says, hey, it'll be ready in a day or two, we'll email you. Well, you're like, what the heck? I don't have email set up for this. I don't have a day or two to wait. Between you and me, this part of it was driving me crazy, and I just assumed that it wasn't really doing anything. Because so far I haven't found a way to look at the queue of where those are or see when they're scheduled or anything like that. So I spent some time, did some homework for you guys, and so there's a few things you need to know about this. So when you did that request, yes, it is successfully there, and it is sitting to be ran in a queue. There is a timer job that runs every night at 1 a.m. that will actually do that work for you. So if you go out here to monitoring and review job definitions, there is a timer job called, I missed it, create upgrade evaluation site collection job. And there's one per web app. So if we click on this, you can see that by default it would run at 1 a.m. tonight and create that for you. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to sit here and do this webcast until 1 a.m. to show you that it all worked. You probably all have lives. I'm kind of boring after about 5 minutes. So instead what you're going to do is you're going to hit Run Now. Now, when you hit Run Now, jump over here to Running Jobs. Okay, because what you're going to see is that in about a minute, or within a minute when this kicks off, there you go, it runs. And so now it created that site collection. So that site collection is actually sitting over there, but it just made a copy of the current site collection and put it over there so it's still in 2010 mode. So then in the next minute, and we can actually see that real quick, right, if we're quick. We go here to view all site collections, see root-eval. So it created the site collection. If we went there, it's still in 2010 mode. So then the next minute, what will happen, running jobs, yep, I think we're fast enough. The timer job that actually upgrades site collections runs every minute. So here any second it should pick up. Or maybe I was too slow. Nope, there it is. Nope, that's not it. Darn it. I got all excited for nothing. Oh well, so earlier today I sat here and hit refresh 1,000 times and I actually got to see it happen. But now if we go out to underscore sites / root eval, oh no, it hasn't ran yet. Sweet. Hit refresh, hit refresh. What time is it? Like 10 more seconds. Come on. I should have like cute little theme music. I want it to run. It wants to run. I can tell it does. Those were not the right jobs. All right, so you know the whole boiled pot. We'll give it another minute. It will eventually, within the next minute or two, will run and grab this site collection and upgrade it to 2010. But notice the warning message up here. Don't do work here. It's an evaluation copy of your site that will be deleted on 9/29. So we're not going to do a bunch of changes here and bring them over or anything like that. We are only going to upgrade or use this to poke it with a stick and make sure that everything is happy-go-lucky. Oh, there we go. So there, the job is running. Over here, notice that the site looks really funky right now. I don't know what all these icons are, but they'll tell you the same thing. We're doing work to improve the site. Please bear with us if you're experiencing temporary delays or glitches. And then bammo whammo, it has been upgraded. So that's an important set of steps to know about because it makes you crazy when you want to do an eval site and demo it and you can't. All right, I'm going to jump over to the question and answers real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. Sorry, I lost my place on the list. So we talked about, do we have an option for keeping 2010 look and feel? We just saw that by default you do keep the 2010 look and feel. There's also a question, does this also allow backwards compatibility for custom 2010 solutions, or do you have to upgrade the code even though you created an SB 2010 site collection? Whoa, that's kind of funny. So yes, the idea though is yes, your code, if it's going to work in 2010 mode, will also work probably in 2013 mode. So you should have some consistency there. That's the goal, right? It goes back to what exactly your custom code did. If you just created a web part that, flashes you are the winner, or something like that, hey, guess what? That one's going to work forever and ever, all the versions. So yeah, that type of stuff will work whether in 2010 mode or 2013 mode. Heck, it probably work in 2007, if we went back to there. It's just going to depend on what you did there. So in 2010 site and 2013 farm, we'll have site app permissions, options, and site settings. So I'm not 100% on all the things. I know in one of the links I'll give you, it does have a list of most of the things. But for the most part, no 2013 new functionality works in 2010 for site collection that's still in 2010 mode. Same type of thing, so Office web apps wouldn't work. The monitoring and usage stuff doesn't work. So yeah, you're not going to be able to use a 2010 web app, 2010 site collection and take advantage of 2013 features. Let's see, next question. What if I've been using SharePoint 2010 with RBS? How will that impact all my upgrade? Well, the good news there, Tariq, is that you paid someone a lot of money for your RBS provider, right? You paid one of those third-party providers to buy it from. They need to give you an upgrade path, right? They're going to probably make you buy an upgrade license for the new RBS provider. So you're going to work with them more for doing that type of migration and what are the different scenarios. All right. So great questions, guys. Keep them coming, and as you can probably tell, Todd is also taking a hack at them when I'm taking too long to answer them, which is very helpful as well. Okay, so that is how, now we can kind of preview. We've got a new URL. Life is grand. One of the things that's not immediately obvious either is this. So this is that new site collection, right? Site/demo that we created. So we didn't upgrade this when we just created this one. One of the things that's worth noting is that you can upgrade these site collections. It's all the same mechanism, right? It's just a 2010 site collection. So when I was playing with upgrade and trying to learn what the different buttons did and things like that, and I didn't want to keep pulling over my databases that had, funky data and stuff in them, I would often use a 2010 site collection I just created in 2013. So that way I knew I had that real high chance of no missing files or nothing like that, and it really let me work through the process and the buttons and the options and solving problems like getting eval site collections creating without having to worry about that it was something wrong with my old data or solutions or things like that. So just keep that in mind. That does work as well. Okay, so if we go back over here to our root site collection, this is the one we upgraded from 2010. If we go, site settings, a couple of things down here I want you to see as a site collection administrator. Site collection health checks. So run site collection health checks, start checks. So the site collection upgrade process has been all pushed over onto the shoulders of the site collection admins. In 2010, because it was a whole visual thing, it was real easy for us just to force it down to them. Heck, even when we mounted, we could force it. This time around, there is a PowerShell way for us to force the upgrades, but really the product is set up for the site collection administrator to come in here and do things like run their own health checks to make sure that they're ready to upgrade. Once they do, they can go in here to site collection upgrade, right? Or they could have gotten to it by clicking start now here. Hey, upgrade this site collection. Say, I'm ready. When they say I'm ready, you can see that it fired off right away. It's all freaked out. People are seeing the warnings up here. Refresh now. Should happen pretty quick. This is actually happening at the app pool is doing it. Right, so the app pool spun up the upgrade thread and was doing all the work of your upgrade there. We'll look at in a minute, depending on the size of your site collection, either the app pool will do it or the, not the app pool, but the timer job will do it. And we'll kind of look at how SharePoint decides that. But now it's upgraded. So my root site collection, it's in 2013. I can take advantage of all the new features, you know, add my apps, all that stuff. Yay! Someone's going to invariably ask the question, well, how do I undo it? I did this upgrade and I'm not happy. I want to go back. You don't, right? This isn't like 2010 where we just flipped the visual upgrade switch back and forth. This is now a SharePoint 2013 site collection. There is no revert back to 2010. So be sure before you commit to this that you actually really meant to commit to this. All right, let's take a look at slides for a minute, see what other stuff I meant to show you guys. Oh, I think I need to minimize this. There we go. All right, so no more pre-upgrade check. Good little boy or girl. I wrote a blog post back for 2010 that shows how to export all the solutions out, or all the WSPs out of a farm into a folder, and then how to import them into another farm. I am certain that the export portion will work, and I'm 99% certain that my import portion would work as well. So if you did your 2010 farm, you know, all solution packages, you'd be able to grab that blog post, run some PowerShell, pull all the solution packages out, and then deploy those to your 2013 farm. I would recommend that you deploy all of those to your farm before you start attaching databases, right? You want as many of the pieces of the puzzle to be there and available when you do the upgrade as possible, or before you do the upgrade, I should say. So features and solutions, keep on working. As our buddy MM keeps asking, you know, about the different dev stuff. You know, like I said, there's be some more links on, you know, that stuff, because I don't have all the answers there yet. Here are the commands. You know, we've already done those. Upgrade a database, so test SP content database, and then mount an SP content database. I think we covered those pretty good, so we should be in a good place. So things that are the same, right? All those commands that we ran. We still have the upgrade log files. They are in the 15 logs folder now. We also can still mount multiple databases at the same time. So if you want to open up 2 PowerShell windows and mount 2 different content databases at the same time, that was fully worked in 2010, still works in 2013. And then finally, look and feel is not upgraded automatically for you, which we saw as well. Things that are new, right? We covered that one. When you do the upgrade, the mount, that is just changing the database schema to be a 2013 database. It is not forcing the site collections to upgrade to 2013. They'll all be 2010 still. And there is no command or no option with the mount to make that change. Visual upgrade is gone. It's been replaced by a much better eval site collection process. Everything is in the hands of the site collection admin. So we showed you the test stuff, you know, or the eval stuff. You have the health rules. Even the processes ran as well. Also, there is a pared down version of the upgrade log available to site collection administrators. So site collection administrators can look at their own ULS logs. They're put into a maintenance file gallery. There's also, I don't want you to think this is everything that's new. There's tons and tons more. We're just not going to jump into that stuff right now. All right. Let's see, we looked at this, testing your eval site collection. So we said try a demo upgrade. It will put it in that queue. Remember that queue only gets processed every night at 1 a.m. But we showed you the way with timer jobs to force that up yourself so that you can get it done a little faster. I'm still looking for the PowerShell that would let us view who's in the queue, what's in the queue, when it's going to run, and that type of stuff. I have not found that stuff yet. Look forward to me sharing that with the world when I find it out. Upgrade is very expensive. It takes a lot of resources, so don't when you get to the production, RTM stuff, don't be arbitrarily just running these eval site collections in the middle of the day and things like that, because it does put drain on your farm. It's also worth mentioning, we talked about versions of SQL earlier. Well, if you have SQL Server Enterprise, which I know not a lot of us do, it's very expensive. But one of the cool things about it is its ability to use snapshots. And so when you create an eval site collection, it will actually create a snapshot and then build it off the snapshot. So there's no database contention issues or locking operations taking place. So kind of cool, but once again, the type of thing that right now while we're playing, we're not too worried about. This is that process of forcing the eval site collections. We've already covered that, so I don't want to get into that anymore. I just thought it was worth kind of documenting here. Also remember that the first step is that it creates it, and then the second step is that it upgrades it, so there could be a delay in that capacity. For upgrading the site collection, we showed how to do that as a site collection admin. There is an upgrade SP site PowerShell commandlet, so if you wanted to do it through PowerShell, you could force that to run. When you run an upgrade, that is those health rules are automatically checked, and if any of those are errors, there's any data errors that would stop or cause an upgrade to fail, then it will not try and do the upgrade. That's the idea of the health rules. They're making sure that, hey, the upgrade might not be perfect when it's done, but it will be successful. If the health rules find any reason it won't be successful, then the upgrade will not be allowed to run. Test SP site allows you to run those from a PowerShell world, once again, if you like. Something I did really find interesting, let's show you real quick. So the site collection administrator has access to all of the logs for their site collection, but as a admin dude, right, I like to see my own stuff. So as an admin, I can come in here and look at a site collection, or see for each site collection there'll be a separate set of logs in my 15 logs folder. And if we expand these out, so I can kind of go through and see, what site collection was it? Well, it was my root one for upgrade2.fabricam.com. Something that I think you might find more interesting as you grow a little bit. So the thing we'll talk about in just a minute is the fact that there's a bunch of throttling stuff that happens. And so sometimes the upgrade happens at the app pool level, and sometimes it happens by the timer job, so the farm account processes it. This log was really the only way to know which one did it. So if you look up here, you can see the command line was w3wp app SharePoint, go do your thing. So SharePoint, the app pool ran it, and it was ran as web app. Whereas if we go into one that I did earlier today, let me find it real quick. I believe it's, hey, nope, not that one. There we go. See, this one, let me expand that out. This one was done, the command line is OWS timer. And so it was ran by Fabricam SP Farm. So that's so far the only way I can tell whether it was ran at the app pool level or at the farm level. Now, how does SharePoint determine that? That's a good question. The way that works is there are some different throttling rules. So for example, an app pool will only allow 5 site collections to be upgraded per web app at a time. So if 5 site collections are all running and somebody comes along and clicks to do their site collection and they're number 6, then that will get punted to a queue, and then the upgrade timer job that's ran at the farm level once a minute will pick up and run that. Right, so that's an interesting one. Your user would really have no concept, or not your user, your site collection admin would have no concept where theirs was being run, but as an admin it's worth noting, whether it's in the app pool or the farm level if you're trying to kind of keep your head going. Secondly, site collections with less than 10 megs of content and less than 10 webs are processed by the app pool. All others are done by timer jobs. Well, wait a minute. Almost every site collection on the planet is going to be bigger than 10 megs, right? So in reality, most of our site collections are going to get queued and then ran by that job that runs once a minute. Now, If you wanted to, I don't know why you would, but you can go into the web app and look at the, each web app has its own site upgrade throttle settings, and you could change these parameters and say, hey, I want to allow up to 100 megs and less than 15 webs or something like that. If you want to start tinkering with that stuff, you could. I'm not encouraging that. We don't know what that does yet. We don't know anything about upgrade performance and what the bottlenecks are and what happens if it runs out of resources. So let's not go playing with those settings just yet, but know that as you mature, once RTM comes out and we start to understand those scenarios better, there are some knobs we can play with to adjust those settings. Also, because usually the bottleneck is SQL, a given content database will only allow 10 simultaneous site collections to be upgraded. Now you're thinking, wait, an app pool can only do 5. How would I do 10? How would I even get to 10? Well, the idea is maybe you have 10 web front ends, each one doing 5 at a time. That would be 50, all processing against one database. Or, we talked about the queue processing. There's a lot of ways that could happen, but that's another per database property that you could set. All right, let's look over here. I got a couple of questions, see what those are. So Tariq's asking for some help on health checks and stuff on 2013. So we'll have to save that conversation on how to keep a 2013 healthy. We'll have to keep that one for another day. That's a little off the beaten path here, but I think that would be a great webcast maybe for next time we do these things around. So thanks for that suggestion. Another question. So Drew asked, hey, does 2013 have similar limits to 2010 in regards to explicit paths, i.e. 10 to 20 max? So Drew, I have not played with managed paths at all in 2013, but I believe that is all exactly the same. Let's just go check real quick because now I'm curious. Oh, that is the wrong button though. Web apps. So yeah, we still have managed paths here. And the screen looks almost identical, so they haven't changed anything. So performance recommendations, I guess I'm truly not ready to make for 13, but I think the real answer is that, yeah, it's probably going to be the same because none of this side has changed. Right, the reason we don't like to have more than 10 managed paths in 2010 is because they all get loaded in memory and they all get taken care of from there, right? So when they all get loaded into memory, every request has to go through and process through that list. So it just adds a little extra overhead to every request that comes in and out of SharePoint every time. So it's the type of thing that it just drags your whole farm's performance down to have too many. So, all right. Let's see. I think I got a couple more slides. I know we're at the witching hour. It's time for us to be done. So some different upgrade PowerShell commandlets you need to know about, right? Test SP content database, mount SP content database. We've covered both of those. Request SP upgrade evaluation site. That allows you, remember we said create me a demo site through the GUI? That's the PowerShell way to do that same thing. Upgrade SP site. That is the PowerShell way of saying, hey, I'm ready to upgrade this site for real now. Keep in mind if you do upgrade SP site, that will force that one to run right away. There's also an option for queue only that will just put it in a queue so it'll happen the next time that was supposed to happen. Finally, there's a bunch of other commands. Get dash command, star upgrade star will give you the list of all the different upgrade PowerShell commandlets. I mean, there's some other ones to play with. There's a couple that I haven't really figured out exactly what they do. So hopefully we'll kind of mature with those as time comes along as well. Some different resources. The Microsoft Ignite training, there's a link to that stuff. Check that out. That is all kinds of admin stuff. I forget how many hours, but a lot of hours of content. There's a couple hours of upgrade stuff in there. Todd and I both helped with that already, so it's good stuff. The PowerPoint's in there as well, especially for MM. You were asking about the dev stuff and how that's handled. that is all. There's some great slides in there that show all that. TechNet's got a good upgrade center as well. And then if you're looking, want to start figuring out how would you migrate the claim stuff, here is the link for that. Don't forget the rest of the week. There are some other webcasts by different people on the team. And, they're a lot of fun. They will also be recorded just like this one, and at one point will be available. But if you can sign up for the live ones, you can always ask questions, which is a lot of a good time. All right, and on that note, that is the end of the slideshow. I appreciate everyone for coming. Please, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or email. I will get these recordings up as fast as I can find a home for them. The same thing when the recordings become available for all the other webinars. They'll all be in one place, so you'll be able to kind of shop for those and look at all those at the same one. Oh, and Dan, I apologize. There's no cow in here. That is really sad. I will fix that for next time. All right, everybody. Have a great day.